Atlas, Wolf, and Ox.
Thank you so much, Cockatoo Man. Really appreciate it. And we are here for the draft for game number 1. We're wasting absolutely no time. Side selection going over to Top Esports. They will choose the blue side here to start us off. And already some bans to come through as the Sejuani taken away from owner, understandably. Gentlemen, any pre-thoughts before we get into breaking down this draft?
I mean, I think we've really talked about it so much already. It's a tough finals to call, but most people are calling Top Esports the favorites. Now, let's head into this draft because Taliyah is gone, Azir is gone, Faker's been a little bit targeted here. The global impact his Taliyah has made across this year is massive, but Tristana, you take away the Rumble, you take away the Leona, that one's going to make it through.
I feel like this is kind of forcing the Corki response to come out from T1. If you're sort of hammering away those other mids that have been lower priority than Tristana and the Corki, definitely feels like Top Esports, who chose blue side after winning the coin toss, are trying to target the pools of T1, whereas for T1, you know, the Senna and Rumble have just been standard bans.
Yeah, well, we've got the Corki answer to the Tristana that we haven't necessarily liked all that much, but the Zyra will come in. This has seen so many bans, and honestly, when it does get through, it's been pretty terrifying. As speaking of terrifying, for either side, the Nidalee is being considered here by Tien, and we'll see whether he does actually lock that one away. It does not inspire confidence in me, and he is going to switch over to the Ezreal.
I really prefer this Ezreal pick, especially because it's one of the most winning lanes right now that also scales in this meta, and if you take that away from the Zyra lane, it feels quite strong. Ashe here, an incredible pickup as well in terms of controlling that bottom lane, taking that power away from owner there. And even something like an Ivern could be considered here from Tien. It's been so powerful. The LPL teams have utilized this pick to great efficacy so far.
I feel like as well, playing in the Zyra when you have the Ashe, so easy to set up that pick potential. I think all the way back to when Zyra was a powerful support and we had Brox Tigers bringing out the Ashe MF, but the Ashe being the one who can sort of lead that pick potential. They're going to go for the Recton here, securing a pick for 369. So now T1, you know, if they want to respond to that top lane pick, maybe pick up something like the Xante, they can. If they want to respond to the AD carry pick, alternatively, maybe taking the Ezreal themselves. They can only do one, though, before we go into the next round of bans.
Yeah, the other school of thought is picking up the Zeri. They can continue to flex that if they would like to, although I don't know whether the Zeri-Renekton matchup goes quite as well as the K'Sante variety. And speaking of which, it's going to be an all-Shurima topside as the K'Sante will be locked in. So, second round of bans is now upon us, and we'll see what is going to get targeted here.
Yeah, well, this is really interesting. To prioritize the K'Sante here means that they definitely feel like there's some possibility for some shenanigans to go down. K'Sante can be that rock in the top lane, can deal with lane swaps pretty well, but you are going to lose out now on that Ezreal pick. Ezreal, relatively scary to pick into an Ashe lane. They took away the Leona at least, but I'm curious to see what Top Esports' read is going to be because I think the Zeri is a much safer pick, can do a lot more in team fights later on, has a lot more ability to escape from the Renekton, as the Ezreal will be banned right away, so they're taking that one off the board.
I'm just also interested to see what T1 do with the red side counter pick, because by taking the K'Sante at that point, obviously Zeus is a player who's played a lot of eclectic picks. You know, we saw the Zeri top lane earlier in the tournament. So by locking in with that K'Sante for him, makes me wonder if Kerry has something he wants to bring out in this situation. Bans have just been targeted towards those AD carries, although Calista, I guess, was potentially a support pick or an AD carry pick, can be flexed with that. And we'll see the Nidalee taken away. Nidalee Renekton, obviously something that could be a really powerful combo. Having that setup in place to connect the spear could be a hard time for T1's top side if they let that go through.
Yeah, I actually really like T1's read here because Mako has been a phenomenal Ashe player, and so eliminating a few of his easier options as far as being able to pull that one out is definitely a good idea. The Varus Ashe still up and available, though, in theory, is the Jhin taken away from Gumayushi, and maybe saying Varus might bring it to life here as we're running out of picks for the bottom side.
The Varus is the other one you could consider instead of the Zeri here for Guma because it is going to outrange the Ashe, and we've seen it as a response to Ashe in the LCK, but the Zeri, I think, just does a lot more, a lot safer when we get to the late game. There's too many threats. You can blow up a Varus so easily with Ashe, Renekton, and some other engaged threats that we are going to see coming through here. At the other side of things here now, Zeri is shown. That Keria pick feels like we're probably going to end up seeing a Braum here. Like this denial quite a bit, also empowers the lane heavily here for Top Esports. Such a great read.
And it also means that they can freely pick up the brand and not have to worry about the door getting in the way or anything like that. I also don't mind it here because, of course, you're not worried about the Vi because the whole top side of the map will then be physical damage on the side of top esports. So I think the Zeri pick is feeling a little bit safer than it otherwise would be. And let's see what this final pick is going to be for top esports, whether they do decide to go for that Pyromancer in the jungle.
There's the Ivern. I was calling out
this is
earlier. Such a strong pick with this draft. So insane. I mean, the ability to play around this is so difficult here for T1.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a good CC setup. You know, you land the binding, you have the Braum, passive follow-up, and you have 80 carries to stack it. It is obviously pretty heavy 80 composition, but a lot of range as well between the Tristana and the Ashe. They will outrange the 80 carries on the opposite side, and they've just been shown to scale so exceptionally, the Tristana with the Ivern in particular. This
Bard pick does make sense for the laning phase, and we've seen already what Carrier can do with this in the series against BLG, who was able to bring that game back. And what part of why T1 are here in the first place in this finals, I have to lean towards top esports draft here. So many engaged threats, the brush setups for neutral where LPL teams in this tournament have had incredible vision control, and T1 has struggled around those mid-game objectives. The lack of hard engage here for T1 really makes me worry too. When you're fighting blind, there's engaged threats for the Zeri. Taking over those Dragons and Barons later on becomes such a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like we saw Carrier kind of have a masterclass on the Bard when he had to be the one leading the engages, but then it was with Guma on the Jhin, and that sort of pieced together where you open up with the Bard ult, you have the follow-up with the Portals, you have the Jhin ult over the top of the team fight. They don't have that as much in the situation, and I think they might struggle to get onto that backline of top esports, and if they don't, they are just going to have a rough time.
Well, coaches, gonna fist bump here as we get ready to hop onto the Rift for game number 1. I see Tristana and I see that's probably gonna win. That's I keep it relatively simple in my mind. Top esports probably coming out ahead when it comes to this draft, but T1 have been incredibly creative with what they've got done, and they are desperate to protect their key, as we can see. And the trophy is right there. It's right there, sitting in front of them. They can see it. And this is going to be huge in game number 1. But first, we've got an interview. Kitty waiting alongside.
Hi everyone, by my side is the top esports coach, Coach Malachi. I wanted to ask about your draft with the Ivern and Tristana priority for this game 1. 所以我想问一下，你们前期选的小炮还有小橘这个中野配合，你们想要前期打成什么样的一个效果呢？
其实小炮跟小橘这个中野的话是后面比较厉害的，然后因为他们抢了前面比较强的杰拉嘛，然后通常来说打杰拉的话，我觉得选到后期打团比他更强的打野组合会好一点。其次，因为我们选了寒冰加小炮的双射手，所以说我觉得的话就是小橘会好一点。
Well, I think Tristana and Ivern as a duo is still towards the late game, and they do scale very well, especially when T1 picked Zyra, which is going to be a very powerful pick towards the later stage of the game, especially when we have Ashe and Tristana, where we have double 80 carries, it will work really well with the Ivern. 那么好了，这是第一把对阵 T1， 然后他们也是一个比较会打后期团战的一个阵容。那么这次应对 T1， 你们有做什么特殊的准备吗？
其实从 BP 上也能看得到吧，就是我们跟他们中路的英雄，可能属性是不一样的，所以我们会尽量想着搬掉就是对手中单比较擅长的那种传统法师，然后去尽量打到就是中单 AD 的对局。
To verse T1, which is a very good team where they can spike towards the later stage of the game, we wanted to ban off the mid lane champions like the Azir, where Faker is very proficient on this champion, and hopefully we get to face them in the later stages of the game. 谢谢 Malachi.
Thank you very much, Kitty, and great to hear some insights from Malachi before we jump onto the Rift for game number 1. I think that we unanimously agree that in the late game, the Ivern and Tristana will be utterly terrifying. And we are so very close to seeing whether it is going to work out. And that expedition towards the late game is going to be the real story here as the Qadir Arena erupts, and we are on to the Rift for game number 1 of the finals for the Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends. Let's see who's going to be able to take that trophy with them and who's going to witness the last key being destroyed for the League of Legends competition.
It's a lot of tension going into this first game. And one thing to keep in mind as we head into this very first early game, the level 1's, you know, just a bit of a 5-point start here. The Ivern will be out-cleared by the Zyra early. She will get a farm lead. The Ivern will not be able to match because it takes some time for him to actually capture his camps and get that money. And that is where Owner is going to have to utilize that small advantage. When you already have this Renekton top side here, I do feel like Top Esports have a lot of power to control those early grubs. So that's what I really have my eye on in this game. You get those early grubs for Top Esports. The Tristana side lane threat is something that T1's draft does not match right now, really in any way. So I think that's going to be a huge goal as Zeus taking some early damage as well. That's the power level 1 Renekton.
Yeah, just 369 walking him down there as Carrier going to throw a Cosmic Binding in. Not too much else going to happen as 369 is going to jump scare Owner from the brush.
That might be
he
a bit
does
far.
step on the plants as well. That could really delay the start, but he might have to, yeah, get himself out of here. Is going to be able to do so safely, but sacrifices a whole bunch of his health bar as he makes his way back towards the top side. Was it worth it?
I don't think so, you know, but to be fair, I'm not sure Zeus is going to have that much pressure in this matchup. He does have the Doran Shield, does have second wind, so it does drastically slow down Owner's clear. I guess we'll see whether it works out being worth it in the end.
Ooh, heal actually going to be utilized on both sides here as the battle for lane control on the bottom side of the map starts off at almost 2 minutes in, very, very early. So far, it is control here for Top Esports. As now Faker is looking for a solo kill. He flashes over the damage of the rocket jump, and now the minions are doing so much work. First blood picked up with the help of his friends, and Cream on the board so early.
We had a similar issue domestically in the LCK recently where Faker looked for a level 1 all-in into the Tristana and failed. Similar situation with the minion damage as well. Another miscalculation, and it's Cream who picks up first blood. Already a tough matchup for the Corki. We've seen the Tristana usually win those out here, not only at this tournament, but just right now in this meta on the previous patch, this current patch. This is not a good start for Faker. We'll have to burn his teleport early.
I mean, it's just worst case scenario. Like, if you don't have pressure in the matchup, that's one thing, but to end up going down here and you see the level up from Cream, he focuses on that. The stats are coming, the extra health and the rocket jump does force Faker to flash away from it, and then he gets enough distance to bomb and the minions to the work.
He has the brush as well, and Faker on the other side doesn't have a brush for cover, so can't actually get away from the minion damage, whereas Cream is able to walk it out. Really nice decision there on the angle of Flash. They'll trade teleports, but this favors Cream because now he has a longsword advantage here and can continue to push Faker back. If he trades aggressively, Faker won't have a teleport the next time he needs to come back to lane.
Well, Owner is going to look to try and help out here, has double buffs at the ready as he rotates over, walks across a ward though. And Faker looking to try and get some damage down while he can with his jungler in the mid lane. So T1 trying to get back some control, but you can see the gold lead starting to stack up as the magical journey is very short. Cosmic Binding's going to come through still. The flash forward, and Tien is going to help Mako try and lock down this kill onto the bar. There's the last auto, and there's the second kill for Top Esports.
So much value coming out, and now Guma is in so much trouble. He has sums, but no one there to help him. This is a really easy dive.
Well, let's see what they can actually do here, how clean it's going to be as he dashes through the turret. Mako tanks it up, and it is absolutely free here for Top Esports, picking up their third.
2 big wins here in the early game for Top Esports. The kill on Faker, the gank bottom there, and unfortunately Owner just nowhere to be seen on the play. A little bit of a slowdown coming through from 369 on his top side start. And it's the Bard that's just not able to get out of this one. He doesn't have a cleanse. Keria just caught here in the river trying to spot this out. Tian obviously getting the faster rotation. And there's no way out for Keria. Guma then just left to dry as the Ashe pushes in the wave to stack this up for a second dive. There's just nothing Guma could do here.
And I feel like it's kind of been a hallmark of Tien, just really focusing down towards bot lane. You know, we saw it yesterday quite frequently, really putting the attention there and getting so much value every time he does. And I feel like it's so dire right now for T1, because if Top Esports went in the late game with this composition, even, I'd feel pretty confident in them. But when they already have a 1,000 gold lead at 5 minutes, it is not looking promising.
Yeah, and we know as well that Tristana can struggle a little bit very early on, but then is going to be absolutely fine. And with that first blood, it really does put a huge pressure point in this mid lane that was otherwise unexpected for T1. We'll see what they can do to try and mitigate it. This is not necessarily looking good as the Winter's Bind going to connect onto Keria. Gets himself through the wall with the magical journey, and Owner is walking his way down. Information though with that ward and the Tri-Brush does mean But Top Esports able to walk their way out, and it's measured aggression, but it's as much as they can possibly put in. As speaking of which, Cream in the mid lane is going to get the Valkyrie out of Faker, and it is going to be just a little bit of a wash there. But let's see exactly what's going to happen as Tien moving down here towards the bottom lane once again. Gumayusi gets the dash off, good Cosmic Binding. They're not able to find a follow-up gank this time around.
Yeah, and we are still seeing Ono obviously get a big farm lead in the jungle, expecting the matchup. But I really think they starting need to be finding angles to get advantages, using that Zyra's clear speed, maybe to look for some mutual objectives. But it just feels like right now both junglers hovering around bot. The lane is still very playable for Guma and Carry, even though they're in a disadvantage. But another good gank from Tian and it could just be over.
Yeah, really like the measured aggression. Atlas was, explaining how it's very careful, it's very aggressive, and it forced a reaction on T1. T1 handled it very well. Guma didn't have to cleanse there, even though the Azure was coming through. Mako committed his heal even, but it sets up for a follow-up, keeps Owner on the bottom side. And then guess what? This is the top side grub control I was talking about here. Tian starts up the first three. Renekton has top side control. Faker's losing the mid lane matchup. You're winning all three lanes. Your objective of choice is going to be those top side grubs. Stacking 3 up already puts Tristana in a great spot, and this puts a lot more pressure on T1 for the second one. Owner coming over here now. Faker rushing over as fast as he can, potentially to help contest this, but with the Renekton so close by, it's going to be tough. Looking for a smite.
Yeah, Tian moving in. There is the smite, so Owner is going to pick up one of them. 369 getting in here. There's the grasping roots as Daisy pops up. And she is going to help out taking this final grub. That is going to be that, 2-1. So T1 at least managed to get that boost of experience there by taking one of the grubs, but this is still a Tristana with a potential 5.
Honestly, Ona being down and experience, not having the ult, might have been a big factor on why they ended up backing away there, because they had more members on the map, but didn't have the confidence to go for it and make it work before more members of Top Esports got there. But Top Esports, they can be happy with what they got. That Dragon is still up and available, so definitely the next objective to look towards.
Yeah, I'll see who's going to be able to get their mitts onto that one as Jackie Love flashing away from Guma. Level 6 before Jackie manages to get there. And that is a very scary Zeri. I really like the early flash to come through, respecting what she can possibly do here. As Cosmic Binding not going to find too much as Mako turns back up again and will help Jackie as he clears up these minions.
Yeah, and they were able to get that really important ward in the Dragon Pit. They also have one just to the right of the Tri-Brush. That's why Mako wasn't there. That's why Jackie Love had to flash, but it's not all for nothing because they do get some additional vision here of T1. We'll know some more about their Dragon setup. And you have to really respect that level 6 Zeri all-in angle when you don't have your defensive arrow. Even with the barrier there, it could have been Guma getting enough of a lead to take the Dragon. Now, with Cream still in control in the mid lane, they can contest.
I think that's why it just feels so rough right now in this game, because typically, the Corki with the power of the Gatling gun, that's the lane you'd hope you'd have the early prio, but like bot and top were always going to be at a deficit in the early levels, just due to the power of both the Ashe and the Renekton's laning. And it just feels like T1 are kind of desperate for a point of pressure right now in their lanes. And as a result of that lack of pressure, they haven't been able to make a move towards that Dragon. They obviously lost out when it came to the grubs overall. And with this pressure, you can see bot and mid. They're going to try and make a gank happen, though.
Yeah, Carrier comes on over with a magical journey, flashes through the Winter's Bite as now Jackie Love's in so much trouble. Gumayushi's going to pick up the first one for T1, and that's exactly who you want the money going to. As now Tien looking to try and answer as Faker under his inner turret. That's a very optimistic gank, but they're still going to get so much free time with this outer.
They want to get something out of it. Unfortunately, Daisy not going to have the same explosive impact as the ult coming out from Owner. That's how you want to use that. Meanwhile, Faker.
Yeah, arrow comes in. Owner is going to turn up, though. They do manage to get the plants out as Cream. He's slowed down, but he's out of turret range, and that is going to be the successful kill onto Faker. Tien sets up the shield onto Cream, who rocket jumps over. He's going to be absolutely fine, and Top Esports still come out ahead.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be really unfortunate there for Top Esports. T1 getting the return play, punishing Jackie Love's flash that he burned earlier from Guma. But then with that mid play, Top Esports more than happy to make that trade. Really big issue for Faker right now, the pressure being applied to him, plates being taken by the Tristana, that kill as well, and now the Dragon secured. Top Esports getting everything they want.
They really do. It looked like maybe Faker was going to get out scot-free with just the cost of maybe a plate and some minions, but going down eventually there. And yes, it's a massive farm lead for Owner, but we saw this against Gen G when Tian was playing this Ivern, and it doesn't matter how far behind you fall early because your relevance later on is often going to be way higher than what the Zyra could do. And yes, Owner gets the successful gank off here, but so does Tian there in the mid lane. We'll go back to this arrow, launched from the main base here. It's a Hail Mary. If it doesn't hit, then you back off. But if Faker gets caught by this, it's an easy kill. Owner trying to shadow this, but unfortunately will not be able to offer anything back. Faker's super frustrated, had the flash available, but didn't use it.
He's had more impressive flashes than just not flashing at all when an arrow comes through. I think we've all seen the videos, so not quite there on that one. Still will have it for the next fight if it does actually come up. It might have been that he thought he could possibly survive with Owner in the area. Still, T1 holding on in this early stage of the game. It is not quite up to 2,000 gold, the lead for Top Esports, but as we've said already, we do like their chances as this game goes on. T1's going to have to find some explosions here in the mid-game. This is not necessarily looking like it's going their way, though, as Zeus fighting with 369. Daisy gets amongst it. She should be able to get a knock-up here as the flash comes in. The all-out is down as well, but I think Zeus is going to struggle to get himself out of this. Does get the shield back, but still, he's going to be taken out. Teleport a little bit late here, but it's still coming through as Faker wanting to clean this one up. The big one comes down. Flash comes out from 369. There's another rocket does come on through, but Daisy is just being so frustrating here for the Yordle. Does get the 50 gold, but Tien is still chasing after him. A few more autos. There's the flash. Phosphorus bomb, and it doesn't matter. Tien just gets it.
Man, the power of Daisy in that skirmish, and it's just so frustrating to deal with. The constant damage, blocking your abilities. 369 managed to survive and get away.
And this turret mid
with the red just orders down, and yeah, red is mid lane is doomed as well.
2 turrets, 2 teleports, a kill in the top lane, and Daisy helps get it done. And guess what? They're also going to get the Void Grubs. They have full control over the map. 5 grubs to this Tristana, who's that side lane threat. Nothing is T1-sided in this game as Zeus tries to pull him in with the all-out, but just ends up getting chunked down. 369, so much damage output, and then Faker coming in with a late teleport here. It's so late that 369 can then flash this, and look at Tian getting the root here, allowing 369 to get out, even giving the brush just in case. He's got those empowered autos coming through as well with this brush, and Faker just doesn't have the damage. See you later.
It's so frustrating to get walked down by an Ivern with red buff and just autoed to death as he's like prancing about. But yeah, I mean, it's such a rough spot to be in. The Corki really falling behind, and especially when you know you're playing in the Trist, you're playing in the Ivern, you know you're going to struggle in the late game. You already have the Moonstone coming through for Tian and a Kindle Gem on top of that, 4 stacks in the Dark Seal. He's already going to have so much value in these skirmishes, and particularly when you are behind for T1, you know, if you're going to try and play around the pick potential of the Bard potentially, you're going to have a really hard time cutting through those shields already.
Yeah, it's looking real dicey. Zeus up here, fighting with 369, continuing to do so. Doesn't quite find the third Q there as the minion wave is going to be shoved in. And yeah, I think Zeus knows that he's not going to be able to get towards that turret. I think the only shining lights here for T1 are Gumayushi, the fact that he was able to grab that only kill that T1 had picked up. Also, some plate gold going his way. And I think Owner with the extra damage potential could be an avenue in some of these fights if the Tempered Fates are good, because they can really disrupt, allow that Zeri to start to get going, and maybe that's the opportunity. The thing is, I don't know whether they're ever going to get to team fights. You're exactly right, Wolf. Like,
he's
just destroying all these turrets.
It's a second turret. He picked up so many plates. He just cashed out a coal. He's got unlimited money at 14 minutes into the game as the plates fall. He doesn't care.
100 gold.
Yeah. And now Zeus isolated here. Faker has to come over.
Yeah, meanwhile, under the bottom side, it is going to be 369. Oh, he catches the arrow, and Jackie Love is able to take down Owner from downtown. Oh, that's just unfair. They're still able to keep pushing forward, but that is damage done. And T1 are going to still try and trade, right? Because they lost an inner turret on the top side. They are priced into this, but they're going to run out of minions. And now 369's going for it. Oh, no! Lens comes in. He gets cut up. It is going to be the turret falling, but was it worth it? I don't think so. Faking out desperately, trying to defend this inner, but that one's going to fall at the same time. And boys, I think we can call this one.
I think this one's donezo.
It's such a rough trade for T1. It looked like they were just going to trade those low health Tier 1 towers. Top Esports gets so much more though. This team is so fantastic at finding ways to break Tier 2s. They aggress the enemy jungle, but I mean, yes, that was a given. They were probably going to get that Tier 2 top, but the fact the arrow snipes Owner from Jackie Love, who's been so fantastic with these arrows today and yesterday, and 369 takes down Guma. it couldn't have gone worse for T1.
Yeah, the fact that he had turret aggro when he gets hit by the arrow as well is just absolutely insane. We're going to have a look at it one more time here. As, yep, Jackie Love just notices the situation happening, and it is so hard for the Zyra not to have turret aggro in that moment. Still, fantastically well played here by Top Esports.
And this is just such a disaster for T1. I want to, put everyone's attention to Faker's items. He's sitting on nothing. And his opponent, his lane opposition, is on 2.5, looking to get a third very soon here. Tristana is so much more relevant, can take these turrets out so quickly, give further map control. And it's a product of the draft, but it's a product of Top Esports just getting these early leads, being so proactive with it. I mean, this was a great draft, we all agreed, but we didn't think it was going to be this one-sided with it. Nearly 6,000 gold the advantage here at 16 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they've just completely slaughtered it. And the fact that the Tristana is so strong and the Ivan has a lot of gold, now they are looking for 369 on the top side, but the wave's gone.
Yep, it's a lot of people up here. And the Crocodile, like you say, doesn't have a lot of minions to contend with, but there is Shelly that's going to pop her way in. An arrow is going to sail by as the Magical Journey is going to be there. Carrier gets his way out with the Magical Journey, but meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Zeus is getting the same treatment. He does have access to his all-out as Tien looks to try and get him. There's the kill in the 1v3. The man still got it as he dashes over the wall. Still, Cream's got a rocket jump. He'll be able to follow it up, but a 1-for-1 in the bottom lane and a 1-for-0 in top.
Yeah, and it's going a lot better for T1 now. On the back of that, they should be able to get this tier 2 in the top lane. They got the tier 1. They answered back with a kill on the bot lane, so it's something at least, but still at a huge deficit.
Yeah, nitpick, I guess Cream could have maybe tried to buster shot there, but it's tough into Cassante with his unstoppable. Doesn't end up saving his ally there, but Zeus trades one back. He's getting a lot tankier in this game into this double 80 carry composition. Ivern doesn't offer a lot of magic damage, just a lot of shielding, the redemption, the heals. He's essentially a secondary support in this game, so Zeus is going to be a big threat if we do get later on into this game. It's going to be very difficult to deal with this Cassante, so that gold, absolutely relevant. But Faker is so far behind, we really need to see him get some gold. He needs to get some gold injection here in a team fight. Perhaps picking up a kill or two could really help him catch up, because that's the unstoppable force. It's not really the secondary 80 carry, the bot 80 carry. It's the mid 80 carry that's level 13 right now, heading towards a supreme late game. That's a big problem, and no one can really deal with this in sides. And the more T1 players go to answer Cream, the more map control they lose.
Not to mention the fact that he's building towards the armor penetration now, so the money that Zeus gets going to feel less and less relevant with luxury items like that being built up. Still T1 looking for a team fight. Mako throws down the door, and the arrow is going to connect once again. It's on to Owner as he's taken down to half health. The redemption comes in and he has nowhere to go. Knocked into the sky and taken down. There's a fight on the bottom side of the map as well, as Gumayushi has to ult just to try and defend this inhibitor turret pre-20 minutes. Faker now fighting against 369, keeps himself alive as Zeus is there, as his defender. 369 almost getting there. We pop back and Faker is able to end it in the end. Still, that was real dicey, and they had to invest the teleport in order to get him.
Yeah, so much need to be done to make sure the Faker doesn't go down there. So close, but I feel like it's such a shallow victory when this is what is happening to your base.
So small, the victories, so little T1 gets back here as the inhibitors threaten pre-20 here. We all know the freak principle, but I think in this case, TES will be happy to take it. And I mean, T1 trying to collapse in here. The angles, the margins are so thin because Jackalef could just toss out his arrows, slow everybody down, allow the retreat. They can put up brushes, and then T1 once again fighting blind. Look at how many wards T1 have to put up just in their own jungle to see where Top Esports are. And this is before the Baron even spawns. In 45 seconds, once that's up, you're going to constantly fighting your way through all these brushes, not to mention the 2-dragon lead towards Hextech Soul that Top Esports is sitting on. They're holding all the cards in this game.
I mean, Hextech Soul, it's always so strong, but particularly here where you are ranging your opponents, it's just going to make it impossible. And T1, they've started to find little ways to get advantages in return. This is an example of one of them where 369 just isn't quite able to stick on Faker long enough. Obviously gets his burst off here, but then Faker able to use his flash pretty effectively over the wall, and then Zeus comes in for some really clutch peel. Got close at the end, to be honest, but not quite able to find it. But yeah, these are small victories still, and the problem is still there of Top Esports' massive lead, You don't have items on Fake. He has completed, those two, but he's still super far behind compared to Cream. And as well, in this game, as a Corki, into a Braum, into an Ivan, so much of your damage can be blocked.
Oh, there's a Tempered Fate, though. They're going to look to see whether they can grab themselves a pick. The Extended Beam comes in, but Jackie Love just flashes away. The arrow comes through, and Zeus is the one taking all of the fire. Generally, that's an okay thing for the tank, but they have so much damage that he just melts. And now Top Esports freely move over towards a 30-second-old Baron.
We've seen what Keria can do to turn these games around, but unfortunately this time on the bar, they catch Jackie Love, but the follow-up damage isn't there. All he has to do is flash away. Top Esports complete control here.
Yeah, Baron is going to be secured. They might be able to get themselves a little bit of a kill off the back end, but it's not even going to happen. T1 needing everyone alive so that they can try and defend their base.
Maybe he could have sneaked down towards the Dragon. I don't think there's time for the Gonson owner so low, so should be third Dragon for Top Esports as well. Here, it's a good pick. The idea is there, but it just shows how far behind they are. Mako comes into block. And the thing that gets so much value here is this redemption with the Moonstone. Look at Mako's health fly back up. All the damage on him is reversed, and Braum already such a hard target to take down. No real chance there to finish him off. And now Top Esports, Baron in hand, getting their third Dragon, one away from Soul. Everything's going in their favor.
Yep, I think we knew that T1 weren't going to be able to contest for this Dragon. Baron then going to be utilized to push down some of these waves. You can see Faker just trying to deal with the top wave so that that one isn't going to be crashing at the same time. But defending this bot lane inhibitor is going to be so incredibly difficult. Then there's two inhibitors down, then there's so much pressure on the base, and T1 will never be able to exit.
369 clears the only real flank ward that's relevant here for potentially Zeus to come in and try to set something up. He's obviously on vision right now. They see him. No angle of attack for T1. They just have to sit back and defend.
Yeah, and look at these explosive charges. So much damage onto this turret. It is just gone. Nothing that T1 can do. They have to completely pull the trigger and fully commit to a fight if they want to try and stop this, as the arrow is going to be carried alongside the Valkyrie, and that will allow Faker to keep himself alive there. But I don't think they're going to stop. The siege is going to continue forward, and they can do so comfortably with the fact that Cream is so huge, and Tien can give him those little pockets of safety with these brushes. And oh my goodness, the explosive damage is absurd. Jackie Love is going to tank the Tempered Fate and isn't too worried about it. Now Nexus turrets are just falling left, right, and center. Only one remaining here as Top Esports, an absolute statement here in game number one. Here's that last-ditch effort for T1, but it is too little, and it is going to be too late as Top Esports, they should make quick work of this last remaining turret and then get to work on the Nexus. Absolute domination from the undefeated team here at EWC. And is that going to continue? It's what it kind of looks like after this.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had some issues with the draft on T1 side, but in terms of gameplay, this was such a massive advantage in Top Esports' favor. It just felt clinical. It felt like every point of the game they were pushing the advantage. Really well played.
It was insane. But now it's time to go to a short break, and after that, the studio's going to